Hello everybody, my name is Andre and today I'm starting a brand new series on the channel in which we are going to create this amazing AI Saas website in Go High Level from scratch. And by the end of this tutorial, if you follow the exact steps that I'm going to present you, you will have this amazing looking website. So let's get started. Inside Go High Level, we're gonna start, as I said, from scratch. And the first thing we have to do is to create a full width section. This will represent our header. Before we add anything to our header, let's make the background of this website black. And now let's focus on our header. We click on this add row button, and inside here let's add a 2-column row, and here we are gonna add an image element. And here on the right side, we are gonna add a navigation menu. This navigation menu needs to have the business name disabled and also the logo in menu disabled. We don't want the theme menu, so we can just delete it. And we are gonna change the about page into pricing. And then we have home, pricing, and contact. Let's also align the elements in the middle, and let's change the colors a bit. Let's make the background black and the color white for now. Also hover, we don't care, we can put it transparent, and that's pretty much it with the menu right now. And for the logo, I already prepared a few graphics for this specific series, so we are gonna use them. I just created them in Canva, very simple, specifically for the website that I'm about to create in this series. Now we have a logo, we have a menu, but we also want to have some buttons. Since this is going to be a SaaS website, we'll most likely need a login button and a sign up button. So let's create that. And we can duplicate this first column. This way we keep the menu centered. If we go on the second column, we move it down. As you can see, the menu will stay centered and the left column and the right column will have the same dimensions. Now let's add the buttons here. So in the beginning, we're gonna add a single button here, and then we're gonna duplicate it. But before we play around with this button, let's make sure that the big row is checked to take entire width. And if we click on the blue section, we want to only take 90% of the entire width. Now let's play a bit with the button. The first button will be black, and let's add a border. Full border. Let's make it white for now and 1 pixel in width, and let's add 50 pixels in radius, or 25. 50 pixels works well. Perfect. Now let's also change the size. Let's put 16, and let's change the text to login like this. And we can also play a bit around with the padding so the button looks better. And as you can see, this is our login button. Of course, we can make it nicer by changing the border color. So let's add a few colors that we are going to use throughout this video. This one, for example, it's a slightly darker gray. As you can see, we have a subtle border to our button, which in my opinion looks pretty nice. Let's duplicate this button, and let's call this sign up. Sign up. Usually the sign up button is a bit more important than the login button because you want people to actually sign up before they can log in onto your website. So let's try to make this button, the text black, and also the color of the button we want to be white. Perfect. And now let's click on the column, and where it says content alignment vertical, we want to change it to horizontal. And content position, we want to check center. Perfect. And this is how it looks right now. Let's add a bit of spacing between the menu items. Let's say 50. And let's save and preview our website. And this is how it looks right now. We have the logo here, a bit bigger if you ask me, and also the buttons here, the login button and the sign up button. Again, the spacing between them is a bit too much, so let's go and fix that. One thing that we can do is to drag the second column towards these buttons, but you will notice that the menu will not be centered anymore, as you can see right now. So how can we fix that as well? Well, the first option would be to also drag the logo, but then you can't tell if it's centered or not. You have to play around until it looks like it's centered, or you can just delete this column and duplicate the button column and move it to the left side. And now we can delete the buttons and re-add the image. Now, if we check, as you can see, the menu is centered and we have the logo to the left and the buttons to the right, login and sign up. Now we can move on to the actual hero section, where we can create a full width section, and within this section we'll create a one column row which will have a headline. Let's change the color to white. We'll keep the same font for now, Montserrat, and let me add a nice text to this headline. For example, this one, your AI co-pilot for smarter workflows. All good so far. Let's now make the text 100 pixels so it looks bigger, and below this let me add a sub headline. Let's make it white and let me change the text as well. Perfect. Now that we added our text, everything looks a bit too white, so let's change that. I want to add a different color to this sub headline. So we click on it, we go down, we click on color, and then we click on add color, and let's paste this color. It's a grayish purple. As you can see, add color, and now we have a different color for our sub headline. Let's also add a bit of margin bottom, let's say 40 pixels actually, and let's add a button. But we are not gonna use the same default button because we want to reuse things that we already built. For example, this button right here, we can clone it, and then by using this button we can move it below the sub headline just like this. And let's change the text to try demo. Maybe we want to have a demo for our AI SaaS product, and people can access that demo by clicking on this button right here. Let's also add some padding, some margin bottom of 20 pixels as well to this text, to this button, and I also want to duplicate this sub headline. And here we're gonna add a small disclaimer. No credit card required, 14 days free trial. And let's make this 14 pixels. Perfect. Let's click save and let's preview our hero section. As you can see, this is how it looks so far. Pretty nice, I would say. So let's move on and add some graphics to this website to make it look even nicer. One thing that we can do is to add a demo of our product right below this text, but since this website is created for demonstration purposes only and I don't actually have a SaaS product, I'm gonna try to add different graphics just to make the website look good. So one thing that we can add is this graphic that I'm going to add in a different section. This one right here that I also got from Canva, and let's use fill 100% of the width. And let me also play a bit around with the padding of this section, and as you can see, now we have a really nice graphic on our website, a really nice transition for the next section. If we preview it, as you can see, we have a cool transition for the next section that looks really nice on an AI website, in my opinion. And next thing that I want to do before actually moving on to the next section is to add a bit of color into this headline. So let's try and add a few custom code lines to our website. And the effect that I want to use will be from my Notion doc, and I'm gonna copy the code from here and paste it into Go High Level. And I'm talking about this effect, gradient text effect. And as you can see, this effect will add a gradient color overlay to different parts of our text, just like in this example. So let me copy the code from this tutorial, which, by the way, if you want to use, you can get my Notion doc from the link in the description. I'll also add a few colors, and I'll show you in just a second how it looks on the actual website. Perfect. I've added a code into this custom CSS section. Now, if we click on this text, go to the advanced, and here we are gonna add this custom class called gradient text. Press enter, and if we select this AI Copilot text and make it bold, as you can see, we have a really cool gradient effect applied only to this specific part of the text. Let's click save, and this is how our website looks currently, and it only took us 18 minutes to build. Obviously the video might be a bit smaller than that because of the editing process, but for me currently it only took 18 minutes to build this amazing looking website. And don't worry, and now let's move on to the next section, which will be below this graphic. And I think here I will add a past clients carousel, something that looks like this, as you can see right here. Again, an effect that I'm gonna copy from my Notion doc, and the effect is called continuous scrolling image carousel. And this is how it looks. A very simple image carousel that we can use to display our partners or clients that we've worked with in the past or something like that. So let me add this effect to the website, and I'll show you in just a second how it looks. So all I did was to add a new section, green section, right below this image section, and then I added a custom HTML code where I've pasted the code from my Notion doc, and we also needed some custom CSS that I also pasted into the custom CSS section. And if we preview the website, this is how it looks. As you can see, we have an image carousel that displays past partners. Obviously I use the same image as the logo because I didn't create different graphics for this specific section of the website, but you get a point. You can change the images in here based on your needs, based on who you've worked with in the past, and so on. And the details about how to do that and how to edit this custom HTML and JavaScript element you'll find here in the Notion doc tutorial. Now let's move on with a new section on the website which will display a few benefits of our AI SaaS product. So let's create another full width section, and inside here we are gonna add a one column row, and within this column row we are gonna add a headline, and I'm gonna change the text as well, just like this, and let's make it white just so we can see it. Of course, I think it's bolded, so let's undo that, and let's also make it 100 pixels. Maybe it's a bit too much, so let's try 70 pixels for now. This looks pretty nice. And let's also add a sub headline. Actually, instead of creating it from scratch, let's also duplicate this one right here, and we can move it just like this. Not in that section, we want it in this section. Perfect. We don't need 40 pixels padding, we want maybe 10 for now. And let's make this AI driven. Perfect. We now want to make the font size 14 pixels, and let's also add a border similar to the buttons that we've just created earlier. Let's do the color like this and the border radius to 25 pixels. And as you can see, now we have this nice section which doesn't really look that nice because of the spacing, and we can make it look better with custom code, or we can use a margin like this, 500 pixels to the left and 500 pixels to the right. And now, as you can see, it looks a bit nicer, but the best way to actually have the border exactly how you want is through custom code. But this is just a simpler version that you can use whenever you want. 20 pixels is a bit too much. 10 pixels I think is perfect. And now we have this cool thing right here. It's not a button, it's just a simple, let's say, benefit displayed in a unique way. Right, now let's also add an actual sub headline. So let's also duplicate this once again, and let's try to move it down right below this text, and let's also change the text. Perfect. And in order to make this section stand out, let's also add the gradient text effect. Gradient text. Perfect. And let's apply the effect to those two words, as you can see right here. Let's click save and let's preview the website. And as you can see, this is exactly how you create a really cool section headline for your Go High Level website. We have a little benefit displayed here with border. We have this cool headline that emphasizes these two words, faster and smarter, and we also have a little description. Now let's add a few cards in which we are gonna display more benefits of our AI SaaS product. So we are gonna create a 2-column row element, and let's make the left column a bit bigger than the right one. And let's add a 20 pixel margin to the right and also 20 pixel margin to the left. Below this, we're gonna also add another row element, but this one will only have one column, and we don't really need to have margin to the right, so this is how it's gonna look. 3 benefits in 3 different columns. Now let's add a border to each column by going to the Advanced tab, Full Border. Let's select the same color that we've used so far, 1 pixel, and border radius, let's do 25. And let's do the same for all the columns. This color, 1 pixel and 25. Now that we've created all the borders, let's try to add a few elements in each column. We're gonna use this image here just for demonstration purposes, as you can see right here, and let's try and make it 300 pixels. Obviously, you'll probably want to use a much better image than this if you're creating this website, but again, this is just for demonstration purposes only. So let me add the same image to all the other columns as well, and let's make this again 300 pixels, and the last one just like this, and let's make this 400 pixels, maybe a bit bigger than the other two. Now we want to add a small headline and also sub headline to these benefits. So let's again use this one right here and try to move it, but this time we are gonna make it white. Then we are gonna duplicate it and make it the same color as before, but this time we are gonna make it 16 pixels. And we don't need that much of a margin, we only need like 10 pixels probably, and same to this column and also to this column. But before we do the changes, let me also click on the column and add some margin, some padding, 40 pixels to the left, 40 pixels to the right, and also 40 pixels bottom. Let me do this for all these columns, and then we'll move on with a few edits. Perfect. Now that we've made the structure, let me change the text, and then we'll add a really cool effect to these benefit cards. Perfect. This is how our website looks right now. We have the hero section here with a login button and a sign up button, logo here, try demo button here with a little disclaimer, this cool graphic above, a logo carousel for clients, partners, whatever you want, and below that a section emphasizing the main benefits of our AI SaaS product. And now, to make this look really nice, let me add a really cool effect that I've made a tutorial in the past for, and the tutorial that I want to showcase is this one, cool reactive glow on hover with cursor follow. So let me copy the effect from my Notion doc, and I'll show you in just a second exactly how it looks. Perfect. I have added a custom CSS, I've changed the colors, and I also added this custom HTML element which contains the JavaScript code. Now let me click on each column, go to the advanced, and add this glowing element custom class, and also the custom class color 1. And as you can see, now we have this cool glow when we hover over our card. Let me also add the same classes to all these cards, and then we're gonna preview the website and you'll see how cool this effect actually is. And as you can see, whenever we hover over any of these cards, we get this cool glow that emphasizes the border, and it also has a nice purple glow following the cursor, which in my opinion looks really well on this website. But we are not done, because I want to add a few more extra things to this section to make it truly amazing. So let's select each column. As you can see, now we have to select it a bit below the actual content, but there's no problem. And let's add another image that I've created in Canva, and is this one with a few grid lines, as you can see right there, and let's make it full center. Let's also add the same to these columns, and then I'll show you exactly how it looks. And now, as you can see, if we hover over our sections, we can see some subtle grid lines in the background of our cards, but we only see them if we hover. If we don't hover, the section is just dark and it has that dark gray border, but as soon as we hover over it, we have that purple border with a darker purple as glowing effect following the mouse, and these grid lines right there. Very cool. Now the last thing that I want to add to this website in this episode is this custom class, which adds a radial gradient to the background. So let's click save and let's go into the big section, go to the advanced, and let's add this class. And now, as you can see, we have a slight purple gradient in the background, which makes these cards really pop, and it gives that depth perspective, and I think it makes this whole section looks really cool, as you can see right here. This is a really cool section on an amazing website, and in the next video we are gonna finish the homepage. We are gonna add a few more extra effects. We are gonna focus on the footer, and then the mobile version of the homepage, and after that we are gonna move on to the pricing page, contact page, and so on. But for now, if you're curious about how to add this cool effect to your website, watch this video.